Ms. Schroeder, you are a landlord and you're suing your former tenant, Mr. Johnson, for $5,000, primarily for rent you claim he owes you. Now, to be clear, Mr. Johnson was more than just a tenant to you. You had actually employed him as a cook in your restaurant for about 10 years. You also hired him for various odd jobs. Here, you rented a room in your apartment to him for a reduced rate because you expected him to act as a property manager as well. You claim he violated that agreement and he owes you $5,000. You, Mr. Johnson, claim that she took advantage of you. She kept adding to your responsibilities. And as a result, you did way more for her than the money she was paying you, and you feel that you don't owe her anything. Now, Ms. Schroeder, why don't you tell us about your relationship with Mr. Johnson? How did you first meet him?
He came to me as an employee at my restaurant, Mother's Bistro and Bar in Portland, Oregon. He was a cook. And so he also worked for me as a handyman at the restaurant. Once he left the restaurant as a cook, I hired him as a handyman. And so when my house I had another house that my grandkids lived in. And when my daughter passed away, ultimately my grandkids came to live with me. And when they were no longer living there, I wanted to rent that house out. And I thought Christian and I had a good relationship. I trusted it. And he and I talked to each other and he wanted to live there. And he offered to work there as a manager of the house, get the other rooms rented. There were 4 bedrooms for a reduced rate and for doing maintenance.
Okay, let's go to you, Mr. Johnson. Is that how you remember the conversation with her?
That is the conversation. She had me come to the house to take a look at some things that needed to be repaired before she could rent it. She said I could rent it for a reduced rate and act as the property manager. Yes.
As a property manager, that meant he would do any odd jobs to keep the place looking good?
Absolutely. It was expected that he would do little fix-it things. That was part of the reduced rent, and get the other rooms rented in a timely fashion and collect the rent from the renters and give me the money that he collected.
And what was the reduction in the rate that you were giving him for all those chores?
The other rooms were each $800 each.
So what was he paying?
$500, theoretically.
So for $300, he was fixing up the house, making sure it was in good shape, and also to rent the rooms?
Yes.
So act almost like a real estate agent?
Act like a property manager.
No, but in that sense, he's recruiting people as tenants.
Okay.
So almost like a real estate agent.
Okay.
That sounds like an awful lot for a $300 reduction a month.
It is. And if you look at it, it's really only $75 a week,
Yeah.
which is not much time.
I'd like to go over the lease if we can. You provided us with the lease, Ms. Schroeder. So
Yes.
let's go over it if we can. This is the lease agreement that we have here. So the lease term says from February 1st to 2023 to January 31st to 2024. And here we have the rent. It says tenant shall pay the landlord a monthly rent of $800 minus $300 deducted for the tenant acting as the property manager for a total monthly rent of $500. Did you pay her the $500 a month that you owed her?
I started paying her the $500 a month that I owed her beginning of February of 2023.
When did you stop?
I don't think there's a distinct date. I just stopped.
There's always a distinct date.
Well,
Do you have any records of your payments?
I do, but not with me.
How are we going to figure out what you claim you paid her?
That's a good question.
I think she's probably got an answer.
I think she's probably got a spreadsheet.
I do.
So let me ask you, Mr. Johnson, while she's looking, how long did you actually live there?
Well, the lease started February 1st, 2023. There were 2 teenage people living in the garage. One was a relative of Mr. Schroeder. They just didn't keep tidy in the house. They were very disrespectful, noisy. I might have slept there, hadn't even moved my bed in. I might have slept on the couch a couple nights for 2 months. I finally moved my belongings in there, I think, in April of 2023. If you take out that first couple months, even though I was paying rent those first couple months, the $500, I was there for 22 months.
22 months.
Yes.
And Ms. Schroeder, what do you have with respect to how much rent he paid you of that $500 for the, do you acknowledge he was there for 22 months, first of all?
He was there from February 23 to January 31st, 2025.
And how much money do you have him paying you in rent?
He started strong paying rent until July, then got a tenant and started to prorate rent. So even though he got a tenant for $800 a month, I started to receive $200 a week instead of $800 a month starting in July.